Paranormal evidence.
Tonight, see what truly exists inside the world of the paranormal. Join the discussion and review some of the best paranormal evidence captures from a wide variety of experienced and up-and-coming investigators. See and hear what they capture, where they captured it, and how they captured it. Right now on Entity Voices.
Paranormal evidence.
Live.
Good evening and welcome to This is Paranormal Evidence. I'm Tony Rathman.
I'm Chris Allgood.
I'm Lourdes Gonzalez.
And I'm Ron Iacovetti. See, when I'm serious, you guys don't know what to do.
No, we don't exactly. I'm like, wait, where's the joke? I don't understand.
we're going.
Well, Lourdes, it is great to have you back. We are glad you are feeling better.
It's great to be back.
Now we need Audra to get better and Cherie to stop working so much so we can have our full team back. But
That's right.
Yeah.
But we've been pulling through with the members that are able to attend. So that's what matters. So tonight we have a very special show and a very great show. We have George Lopez coming back with us tonight, as well as Sharon Coyle. And we are going to talk about, discuss, and show some evidence that was captured from EVPs, spirit box sessions, and just some great information and evidence along those lines. So let me first bring in George and Sharon and let them say hello. Here they come.
Yeah.
Hello.
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 Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
I just want to say it's an honor to be on Coast to Coast with you. Thank you very much.
No, this is great, and we're really excited about this tonight because, like I said, some really good stuff to go over. But what I always do with guests, and George, I know you've been on the show before. In fact, I think it was 2 weeks ago. But I would like for you both just to give a quick background of how you got involved in the paranormal, what started it for you, what brought you to where you are today, and what you're doing and involved with, and we'll start with that. So Sharon, go. I'll let you go first.
Oh, all right. Thank you. Well, I started getting involved in the paranormal, I guess officially, was after my mother died. She died in 2001. I'd always had been interested in the paranormal. We always had activity in our houses. My mother had stories of her being a child and things happening in her house, growing up with my grandmother. But I really got involved. Excuse me, I'm getting over bronchitis. After my mother died in 2001, I was in California. I joined a bunch of meetup groups, went to a bunch of different paranormal groups, and eventually started my own group. And that's how I actually got into it.
Can I ask where in California that was?
Huntington Beach.
All
Miss
right.
it every day.
So we're in New Jersey, and I started doing paranormal investigating when I lived in Los Angeles for 14 years. So I was based out of Burbank. So that's why I was curious.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What year?
Around 2011.
Oh, I was already out here. I already moved out here in 2010. So we passed.
Oh, back to New York?
Yep. So
Yeah, I was out there from 2000 to 2014. I moved back here.
yeah, I lived in Burbank for a while in Screenland.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I love Burbank.
Yeah, I love the whole area, especially the weather. So
Yeah, you
It's
guys
like
can all go.
a-
We're just going to talk about Burbank now.
I know it's 9 degrees right now. So anyways, go ahead. Oh, I'm so sorry. We digress.
Yeah.
That landing at Burbank Airport is not all that fun.
No, but when you get off the plane, you don't walk through the little thing like when you enter the normal airports with the little tunnel and stuff. You come down the stairs. I always feel compelled to do that presidential wave because there's people watching me. And I'm like,
And at the top.
All right. Ken, George, you want to give just a quick background? I was just reading. I apologize. I was just reading a comment, and somebody wrote George and Ken, and then I introduced you. I'm like Ken, so I'm sorry, George.
I know we're like Abbott and Costello. It's a package deal. Well, I was surprised Sharon didn't go into the procurement of the establishment to which we will be speaking of, but that will come later, I would suppose. But I guess mine's a little bit different than most people when it comes to getting into the paranormal. We had a ghost named Henry growing up in New Jersey, but never really kind of found an interest in the paranormal from that. It was just something that we added to the family and discussed it away, and things made noises, and it's just Henry, and that's all. It didn't become something that was spooky or investigative. So I was a kid, and we moved to Florida for my dad's job. We lived in South Florida for quite some time, and then I moved to Central Florida for a job, and got close to St. Augustine, and that's where I started growing into fascination, because that place is a ghost magnet and a tourist magnet. Put the two together, and what do you have but a lot of people that are curious about paranormal activity. So
Right.
I did the basics with a 35 millimeter camera and a flashlight and a recorder, and went out and started hitting the Huguenot and Talamato cemeteries, and then the St. Augustine Old Jail, and with the first experiences I had out there, which for many of us was probably orbs, I got hooked, and from that point on, every time a new experience happened, it just raised the bar for me. So it's always a new challenge. That's what I love about the field.
Couldn't agree more. And and for every bit of information you get, there's 100 or 500 more questions that come from whatever answer you get. So it's a never-ending passion. But that's awesome. Okay, before we get into any type of evidence or any of the things that we're going to look at, why don't I have Sharon tell us how long you've been operating Rolling Hills, how you got involved in it, and then we'll get into the information about the spirit box sessions that you guys did there and the evidence that came from it.
Sure. As I said, I had started a team out in California and used to do a lot of home investigations. And then I was doing a lot of historical properties. And I heard that there was going to be a ghost hunt up here in 2008 at Rolling Hills Asylum. It was one of the Dave Schrader events, one of his great events he used to always put on. So this was on my bucket list. I came out, had 3 incredible nights of activity, June 12th, Friday the 13th, and 14th, and went back to California. I didn't think I'd ever come back to Western New York. I grew up in a town very similar to East Bethany, which is a very blip of a town. One yellow blinking light, it's very, very small. And because of the weather and the cold, I never thought I'd ever come back to the East Coast to live. But there was something about this property. It just grabbed a hold of me. I used to go home, and even though I had other evidence to review, depending on what I was doing, I'd always be drawn to reviewing the photos and EVPs from this place. And in the spring of 2009, I got a phone call from someone back here saying, "Oh my God, are you sitting down? We have some really bad news. We don't know what's going to happen to the property, but Rolling Hills is closing down. We don't know what's going to get torn down or what's going to happen." And the woman on the phone was getting really upset. She started starting to cry. And I thought she was yanking my chain because for me, it was a historical property. I'm thinking, why would they tear down a property like this? It's historical. I did understand that at that point, there were, just because it was privately owned, and there's a whole other layer to the whole thing. But long story short, I ended up calling my husband at work. I was married at the time, and I said, "Oh my God, Rolling Hills is closing. We don't know what's going to happen to it." I was crying on the phone. He thought, "Oh, I was a nut job." He goes, "Really, I'm working." He hangs up on me. He comes home and he goes, "You know what? We're thinking about lifestyle change. Why don't you go out and look at it?" So I came out and looked at it in May of 2009, and again in June of 2009. And it was just a really bad idea to buy it. It was way too much money, and there was a lot of problems, gaping holes in the roof, a bunch of other stuff. But I could not let go of the idea of buying the property, and I found out it was going up for auction October 25th, and my birthday's the next day. So he goes, "You know what, why don't you go on out, see what happens?" So I flew out. I was the only one who showed up, and the bank was really aggressive, kept bidding against me. at the auction. I just walked out because there was only so much money in the bank account, and having a real estate background, there's no comps, right? So it's hard to get a loan on a place like this. So I walked out, and they ended up calling me, and they worked out a very long, very high interest rate financing for me. And so I moved out here in the spring of 2010 with one suitcase by myself, and filmed with Ghost Avengers. Sorry, bronchitis. Ghost Avengers, and associate produced a movie with the Booth brothers, and that was filmed here. And one thing led to another, and all of a sudden the husband goes, "Don't want to be married to you anymore. Good luck with the one suitcase." Click. And so I've been out here since 2010 with one suitcase by myself. Well, now I have more things, but I moved out here by myself, not knowing anyone, and it's been a challenge, and it's been exciting, it's been heart-wrenching, and everything in between.
And who was the first investigative team?
George Lopez. You were
really?
Right after Ghost Adventures, he came up, and it was bitterly cold, and they drove up, and the poor guy, now he drove up in one night and then started to investigate. He had to go lay out in the car, and it was cold, and there was all stuff going on with your mom. Oh my God. The tripod's getting thrown at her and a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, it was the best thing ever. He and I go back. He's like my brother. I love him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, that Sharon Coyle drinks the blood of virgins, because I've known her for 12 years and she hasn't aged a day. My God.
Oh my God, I love you. I just turned, I'm going to choke and I'm going to swear. I just turned, you might have to bleep me, fucking 60. I'm going to fucking die. Oh my God. I know that I'd say that.
And poor Chanel, our new producer, is probably sitting there going, "How do I hit the edit button?
How do I mute them? How do I mute them?
Where's the censor? Where's the censor?" Don't worry, Chanel. It'll come out of your pay. Don't worry about it, honey.
All right. Well, the next thing I would like to go down, because there are, I think, 19 Spirit Box recordings. So I want to make sure we have the time to play these. But George or Sharon, whichever one of you want to take the lead about what made you want to try this, what was the premise of what you were going after, hoping to catch, and just give a little background before we start going into each one of these about what was happening, what made you decide to do this, and how that came about.
Okay, well, I'll start it because it started with the podcast that we used to do with Dead Air on a platform called Blog Talk Radio. So it was all via telephone. And again, we had already established a relationship with Sharon Coyle, with Rolling Hills Asylum. And there was a point in time where Sharon was able to acquire a Frank's box, an actual legitimate Frank Sumption box.
I have two.
And did you have two at the time too?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we came up with this brilliant idea. Let's see if we can't do a dual spirit box session. And the way we set it up, and I think on the show before I talked about it, but there are a group of spirits that I've worked with for many, many years on the other side that that help me interact with other spirits, especially when I'm doing the Shack Hack or any other investigations. But so many of them are spirits that I never were with, were never in human form that I'm aware of. Anyway, Colette, Michael Gabriel, and one other by the name of Amanda. And if you want to put her picture up there for me, Tony, who was part of the team that I had, the Port Orange Paranormal Society. And we lost Amanda at the age of 23 in a car crash. And I can tell you within 2 days time frame, we were making contact with her, both with Spirit Box and with recorders. It was extremely peaceful to her mother and to her family to hear some of her responses. So in this particular concept of what Sharon and I wanted to do with this was to start off on the show live with having Amanda and Colette travel to see if this was capable, if this was possible for them to travel from my home here in Florida to East Bethany, New York, to the asylum. Now, the only problem is that I did not tell Amanda and Colette they were going to an asylum. I just gave them the physical address. And so that was the concept and idea behind that, was to have them go up there and be able to help the spirits of the asylum communicate through this device. Now, Amanda had helped for years helping spirits communicate through the shack hack. So we thought this might be an interesting concept if indeed it did work. So where we'll start off on these clips is where these girls have already arrived there. And the very first one is Sharon kind of doing a roll call. You know, the Amanda, Colette, Michael, Gabriel, are you here? And you actually hear, this is a Frank's box, so if you want to play it a couple of times, but you'll hear Amanda running up saying, hello, hello, what's up? But it's like from here, hello, hello, what's up? You can actually hear the distance shortening to where she gets next to the Frank's box. It's an amazing thing to experience.
Awesome. Let me play that clip. Here it is.
Is Amanda or Gabriel, Colette or Michael available, please?
Yeah.
One more.
What's up? What's up? Hello, Sharon. You hear that?
One more time.
Is Amanda or Gabriel, Colette or Michael available, please?
Wow.
Yeah. There's a female voice saying the what's up, and the hello sounds male voice to me.
Yeah. Now, as you go through these two, try to keep in mind the tone of what she sounds like. Amanda and Colette kind of sound similar, but then later on, when we return back to Florida, it's the same on a different on the shack hack. We're speaking with them, and it's the same tone, the same vocal tone. So that's what's unique about it. Because, and again, this is all being done via the show that we were doing at the same time. But set up Sharon, the elements of the investigation. Do you remember the temperature? Who else was there with you? Things of that sort.
Oh God, I should have really thought about this for a second. It was so many years ago. It was 10 years ago. It was probably pretty cold. It was March. It was Roy's birthday. And I can't remember who else was there with us. Honestly, I know there was a couple other people, but I can't remember who specifically it was.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm old. I don't remember who's there. There was like 2 or 3 other people there. There wasn't that many people.
And as we're going through the evidence, there'll be certain things I'm sure that'll spark her memory just as well. But so set up.
It might have been like Scott and Amanda, Scott and Amy or something. It wasn't too many.
Yeah, I remember Scott. I remember hearing Scott. Yeah, but so the second one here is where Amanda was starting to realize that she was not in a normal location. You will hear, and this is coming over the Frank's box, the most bizarre, psycho kind of laugh. And then there's a long pause, and then you hear her go, "What the heck?" Go ahead.
All right, here it is.
Colette, Amanda.
Oh yeah.
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 Let me play that one's quick. Let me play that one more time.
Colette, Amanda.
Yeah.
Yeah, and George is dead on too. If you the first clip compared to the second clip, that's the same tone, same voice, same female.
Yeah, the whole way through.
Yeah, you can definitely tell it's the same voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely the same voice. Was that a different box from the Frank's box, or was that the Frank's box again?
Sharon?
I think that was still the Frank's box.
Okay. But even that's impressive because you're getting the same tonality, the same voice structure. So very cool.
Yeah, and that's an AM
Everything
suite.
that happened at Rolling Hills was through the Frank's box. It doesn't shift to the shack hack until it goes down to George.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And the whole all these different clips together tell a story. That's the unique part behind it. And that's, again, a lot of this is found on the Rolling Hills Asylum website also. But
very, very cool. And yeah, the fact that when I listened to it, that story kind of unfolded, and it gets better. So very cool. What were you saying before, Ron? I'm sorry. I think I interrupted you.
Oh, I was going to say two things. One is that it's an AM sweep, right? If it's a Frank's box, he primarily worked on an AM.
No, there was choice of AM and FM. I chose FM.
This one had FM on it also?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I thought it was interesting, too, the first clip, because it demonstrated what in our realm would be what the Doppler effect for sound is. When something's static, the waves are equidistant, but then when you have that intensity, when it gets closer, where you have a tighter band and a more saturated sound. So that was interesting when he talked about how the approach of the voice came closer to the microphone.
Yeah. And as far as reception out at Rolling Hills Asylum, if any of you have ever watched any movie and there's this shot from a drone above of a crossroad and nothing but desert otherwise, put an asylum at one of those corners, and that was the entire area at the time that we had done this. There was nothing close to this asylum whatsoever.
Yeah, it's just farmland.
Wow.
Acres and acres and acres. It was crazy. And there was woods way in the back. It's where the deer all lived that you saw back there. Yeah.
It's funny that they chose locations like that for asylums. My wife and I were back in Wisconsin over the summer, and we got to go to the Sheboygan County Asylum. And same thing. I mean, there is nothing. It is cornfield after cornfield, woods, swamps, but no houses, nothing for miles.
It's crazy.
But the last time we went back, when Sharon had me invited up for an event that she was having there, there was a strip mall and car dealerships, and I mean,
well, not in East Bethany. That's in Batavia. That's still miles away.
That's miles, big deal. I mean, compared to what first time we went up there. Again, yes, it was a 19-hour drive that I took from Florida, but by the time we got up there, it was like there's nothing. And it was just, and that's what I think made it so cold. It was just barren wasteland. It was just freezing cold. Okay, so the next one, because I want to try and get all these in. I don't know how much time we've got, but this is where there was kind of a balance going on within the asylum, which Sharon is very well aware of. Also, there were the inmates, or the people who were residing there as patients, and then of course there were the staff. Right. So there were a lot of these. We're trying to figure out who's helping along the way here. So this one here, we can't decide whether or not, maybe you guys can, if it was a patient or if it was staff. But the very next thing that Amanda's getting is a mail saying, you're going to need this cross for the house. And it gets a little sinister here and there throughout this pathway, but you'll see as, people try to keep her calm. But that's the very first she hears this crazy laugh, then somebody else telling her, you're going to need this cross for the house. Take a listen.
All right, here's that clip.
Wow.
That was fast too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the speech impediment has that really fast dialogue, and we've talked about this over and over and over, but that shows the indication that this definitely falls on the paranormal side, because nobody speaks that fast. Let me play that again. Wow.
Yeah. No, nobody would on purpose speak at that tonality, that rough, that fast. And that's a lot of vocal manipulation for a human being to pull off for no reason.
Yeah, and at the tail end there, you almost hear, I would almost say that was almost a local, because you can almost hear somewhat of a subtle older New York accent coming from like an upper New York accent at the tail end there.
Let's play that one more time. Here it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you're going to see all through this, you're going to hear Sharon, because she had her phone next to the Frank's box, and Sharon is constantly talking to the spirits and for us in the phone, so that, whoever that she's connected to with the spirits there, which we were just talking about yesterday, when you've been to a place a bunch of times, there comes this relationship, this camaraderie, which I'd love Sharon to speak more about a little bit later on, about her camaraderie with the spirits there that she's built over these many years.
Yes.
But in that same sequence, again, this is where she's getting a lot of warnings. Amanda and Colette both, but Amanda's doing most of the speaking. And I'm not sure, and maybe you guys with your ears, your trained ears, will pick this up too. But you're going to need this cross for the house, and now you're going to hear, "Go tell him to keep that door locked." And then I think it's Colette that says, "Problem, don't let him out." And the tempo is, "Go tell him to keep that door locked. Problem, don't let him out." Just that fast.
All right. Here's that clip.
Yeah.
All right. That was female, I believe. Right, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Two females talking. Okay.
One more. Let me play that one more time because that's fast speech. Wow.
Yeah, and you can completely rule out radio bleed through for anybody who wants to lean cynic in any way, shape, or form. That is not coming from a radio broadcast whatsoever. If it is, they need to fire the DJ because he's terrible.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's the same thing we all look for. Whatever particular kind of device like this that we're using is the change in voice. I got you use an SB7 and it tells you right off the bat. You can tell the difference when it is the same voice all the way through multiple frequencies. Then at that point in time you're reaching a whole nother level. We'll go over a lot more. I want to get through the clips and then we can go through questions and go back to whatever we want to address on this, because there's somebody who taught me about spirit boxes, Nancy Matz, years ago, gave a perfect metaphor for it. So I want to address that. But this one here, this is probably of all of them, maybe the one that's the hardest to hear, but you'll hear some of the key words that are in this. And this was the topper for Amanda before she kind of broke. And I think that's where they felt for her again. And this was almost like a hazing kind of thing. But you'll hear, these are the words you hear: "Name your price. I would love your soul." And then who's that? Apparently the official devil, holy bleep. "Name your price. I would love your soul." Who's that? Apparently the official devil, holy bleep. I'm just saying bleep for Chanel so she doesn't get charged any more money.
All right.
I feel bad.
Here's that clip.
Yeah.
There are words that stick out. Devil sticks out. I heard soul, but you're right. That one's a little harder to get the full meaning. Let me play that again.
Yeah.
Like that time, devil stuck out to me real clearly. They're there. But yeah, that one's a little harder to hear, but it's there.
Yeah. It's all there. The thing you got to remember when you're listening to this kind of evidence is that it's not a game show, and you don't have to prove anything to anybody by hearing it in the first pass, or you lose the bonus round.
Right.
You can slow it down. You can analyze it. You can voice print it to match the spectrograph to see if that's what it is. Clearly, especially after the second pass, I could hear more of it. And George had the cadence. That's how good his memory is. His cadence, what he recited beforehand, matched. And that's and he talked about us with a trained ear, but that's a trained ear because that's something we have consciously that's called inborn pattern recognition. I always liken it to if you flew over a landscape, you wouldn't recognize anything. Second pass, you pick up reference points. The more times you do it, you can put pieces together and start having some frame of reference for what you're looking at. That's how good he is at that review. That he heard that and repeated it before we played it.
Yeah, I agree.
And to add what Ron's saying, you don't have to catch. You don't have to be as good as George to catch it on the first one. You catch a little bit of clip of it, then you go back, you listen to it again, you catch a little bit more of it, listen to it again, you catch a little bit more of it. But eventually during that review, you also start catching the emotional behind it too. That F-bomb that was dropped at the end sounded like a completely different person, and it almost sounded, it was an F-bomb of shock. To me is what I heard. It almost like it was a fearful F-bomb. Like, holy fuck. You know what I mean?
It all comes really to a hilt with the next one or the next two, but the next one was the one that was the hardest For me, it was the hardest for when we were doing this review on the show for people to hear because Amanda's mother, Debbie, was always a watcher of the show or listener to the show, and she was in the chat during this play, and she right away she goes, "That's my Amanda." But you'll hear here where again Sharon is speaking and trying to get them to speak to some of the familiar names inside of the asylum, but at the very end, Amanda comes back with "No place safe," and then you actually hear her sniffle twice, like it's just really taking its toll. She was shocked by where I had asked her to go. So again, it's Sharon speaking, asking the girls to speak to some familiar names, and then you'll hear Amanda come back with "No place safe," 2 sniffles.
All right, here is that clip.
Can you try to go and get Joy or Emma or Elizabeth?
Wow.
That one was not hard to hear.
Yeah,
That was very easy to distinguish.
Yep.
And I don't know if I asked Sharon while we did this or if we ever discussed it whatsoever, but being in that location, Sharon, during this, are those emotions present? Are those, with those, along with those energies, you can sense energies in that building. There's no question. I've been privileged to be there twice, and both times, man, it's palpable. But during that time, are those emotions present too?
We were feeling different things. I mean, there was just so much going on between what was happening through the spirit box. We were hearing audible stuff. We were seeing shadow people coming up the ramp and in and out of doorways. There was a lot of stuff going on at that time. Yeah. So the energy there all the way around is so high all the time that it kind of gets into a jumble.
Yeah. If you want to play that one more time, and then the next ones, I'll do that quick.
Sure. Maybe.
Can you try to go and get Joy or Emma or Elizabeth?
She's like right up against the phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. So the next one it's right afterwards, and again, you can still hear Amanda being emotional about this, and then saying it was safer at his house, meaning my home. It was safer at his house.
All right. Here is that clip.
Amanda, you want to come out and swap with us, please?
A little more.
Yeah.
Then,
Let me play that. Let me play that one more, because again, that speech cadence is
quick. Yep.
Amanda, you want to come out and swap with us, please?
Yeah. It's absolutely there.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
So this is where I think the spirits, which Sharon came to know and love over time, being there with them, the familiarity, where they do have empathy, and so it gets a little bit funnier here. This next one is almost 2 guys walking to a bar kind of scenario, because what you're having are 2 spirits that are hanging out in the hallway. I picture them leaning up against the wall with their arms folded, and one of them, as another spirit enters, says, "Here comes a ghost." The one that enters in says, "Why, thank you." And the other one that was already in the hall says, "Don't be stupid." So here comes a ghost. "Why, thank you. Don't be stupid."
This one's great. This is one of my favorites. Here it is. One more time.
Yeah, play that again, Tony.
All really quick. Human being on a recorder would not say it that fast for fear that his friends might not pick it up, especially if it's somebody he's calling stupid.
Yeah. You got to make sure he hears it. Yeah.
Right.
That's fantastic. Right. People sometimes have this misconception that, if the spirit box stuff works, then it should be crystal clear and perfect quality every time. Listen, for people who think that way, I pay for this monthly. to talk to people in our realm, and I still can't always get a good signal.
It's true.
So if it's otherworldly, take it easy, Mary. Slow down.
Yeah, that is the truth. In fact, I remember producers when they were listening to our Evox, and which is pretty darn clear, and they said, "Can you clean that up?" I'm like, "I'm not Sprint." It was unbelievable. But yeah, I hear you.
Well, Ron brought up a good point. Ron brought up a very good point with the cell phones. I mean, if I can't get a signal going through the West Virginia Appalachian Mountains on the 77, which is a very big interstate, on my iPhone, how do you expect us to get a perfectly clear EVP from something coming from the other side?
Realms, and it's
right crossing realms. It's amazing that we're catching it to begin with, and
it's called temporal synchronization. You're trying to align transmission and reception for two signals that are not line of sight communication. They're not going off of the ionosphere. We don't know how they're crossing between realms or bleeding through or riding carrier waves or whatever's happening. So those words and those things, make no mistake about it, every one of those clips so far are phenomenal that those things are coming through with identifiable voices, no less.
Right. And understanding the questions that we're asking and actually interacting with us and the other spirits there and having conversations between themselves and us. Yeah. I mean, they're cognizant is not even the word. I mean, it's just amazing what's going on.
Well, the quick cadence on the sweep alone is evidence in itself, because on a sweep, even if you were picking up words that somehow magically align to create a sentence during the sweep, off of different radio stations, they still wouldn't sweep that quick and pick up in that cadence. That cadence is so fast. You're hitting so many damn frequencies there. It's insane. And to form a sentence that corresponds to what's being said and is intelligent responses to that is just phenomenal evidence.
Let me tag real fast. Chris Allgood with another brilliant evidence observation, because not only that, Chris, but if you pointed out something really, really important, the sweep was quick. It was not a slow sweep.
No,
that you could say, "Oh, bleed through," but the cadence of the speech was even faster than the sweep. So how do you explain that and say it's radio bleed through? You cannot.
You can't.
No, and that's an excellent point. The fact that the cadence was faster than the sweep just says phenomenal amounts about what's being captured. But to Chris's other point is that question after question, the speed of the cadence even starts to increase a little bit as we've been going through these, but the vocal tone is still the same. And no matter how many sweeps go by, that vocal tone has not changed from the very first one we've listened to, which means it is the same entity, and I use the word entity loosely, spirit, whatever you want to call it, answering their questions.
I would agree. I would agree.
Yeah. Now, following along with the story, they get there, they don't know where they're at, they're getting kind of freaked out, and then, as I said, some empathy starts to enter into this new relationship. And so within a small period of time, whatever the dialogue was going back and forth, we capture this next one, which Sharon, if you could briefly give everybody some of the background about the existence of soldiers on that property.
We opened up actually 195 years ago on January 1st as the Genesee County Poorhouse. And so it housed widows and orphans and drunkards and Civil War veterans and Native Americans, all types of people. So we've had soldiers from all different eras come through here. From when it was the poorhouse, in 1938 we added the Genesee County Infirmary, and then in 1964 to 74 we became the Genesee County Nursing Home, so we have even Vietnam veterans here. So we had a lot of soldiers pass through this property, and actually made a dedicated military room on the first floor east wing. So we have a dedicated military room. We get a lot of soldiers come through there.
That's fantastic.
So in this clip here, you'll have one of the in-house spirits speaking with Amanda and saying, those many soldiers live with us. Really? Really? What an amazing place.
Here it is. Let me play that again because it's there, but man, that cadence is fast.
Cadence is fast. It's clear.
It's not only fast cadence, it's staccato. It's very erratic. Yes. It doesn't stay at the same speed. It varies. It reminds me of early direct radio voice. Every so often, Marcello Bacci would use the vacuum tube radio, and he would toggle a little bit, which is tantamount to a minute sweep almost, but not quite sweeping. And it had that same kind of toggled effect to it. It was fast, slow, fast, slow.
Yep.
That's phenomenal. And you could hear the words.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can hear the words, no doubt about it.
Well, and that just confirms what we were talking about a minute ago about the cadence. Yes. Now you've got a sweep that's going at a steady rhythm, and you're getting a faster cadence and a slower cadence and a faster cadence, and it all lines out to create a sentence. The possibility of that happen, I have a better possibility winning the Powerball tonight.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and becoming the Pope. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, me becoming the Pope.
It's completely disregarding the sweep. The sweep speed is of no importance to that message coming through. It just uses the carrier wave and it comes through.
Exactly
right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I keep checking the time, make sure we're good. We're pretty good right now. Okay. So now comes what the initial intent was for Amanda and Colette to come up and basically teach them how to work the Frank's box. But as it's pretty evident that it was picking up regardless. It wasn't that you needed to imprint your energy. And I think that was a little bit of the naivete of myself and other investigators 12 years ago to think that everything had to be intent as far as imprint. And in this particular device, the Frank's box, it's just picking up conversations that spirits are having between each other.
Right.
But still, they went up there with the correct intent and stuck to it. So this is the next one here where they're trying to work with the spirits about communicating over this Frank's box. And you'll hear, hey, can people talk through this new thing? Yes, they can. And there's another overlap of yes, they can. So Amanda and Colette are both answering, hey, can people talk through this new thing? Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
All right. Here it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
One more time. Let me play that one more time.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So we get one more from this training session, whatever you want to call it. And again, real time, as you guys also expect and understand, we're not catching as much of this.
Right.
Real time. We had to go back and go through review. And as we're going through review, our minds are being blown. So we probably didn't get as much as a dialogue as we should have after them introducing the Frank's box, any messages they may have had. In any event, this last one I thought was really, and it's one of my favorites, where it's one of the guys there, I guess, kind of taking charge, saying, answer the spirit box so we can try and talk to you. So answer the spirit box so we can try and talk to you, is how it says it.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. One more time. That one's easier to pick almost every single word out. Here it is again.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, my battle at the end was we can try and talk to you or we can try and touch you. And that didn't make any sense to me. So we can try and talk to you made more sense. Mm-hmm. But again, that slight distortion is it's a worthy problem to know that we're having not only spirits from a distance travel in the speed of thought to a different location, but be able to have dialogue with the existing spirits in that location. I thought was the groundbreaking part for us back at that time. That was 2012, I believe. So
yeah, that was great.
All right. So now the trick and the very, very important test we were going to try to do was see whether or not we could bring the spirits from Rolling Hills Asylum back to Florida. And some of the stuff in here, it still blows my mind to this day. And we'll get to that. I think it's 3 down from where we're at right now. So
I know it's
this, yeah, this is the spirits here that are communicating with each other about taking that trip. This one is longer, which means there's more to hear, harder to hear. But the content basically is, okay, does everybody think they can go to the safe place in Daytona?
Amanda, are they willing to come down here to do a spirit box session?
That's harder.
Yeah, a little bit.
The end word of Daytona, you could hear that clearly, but yeah, the rest of it's a little tricky.
Yeah,
I heard safe place pretty clearly too. Safe place was not.
Let me play that one more time.
Amanda, are they willing to come down here to do a spirit box session?
Yeah, a little bit more difficult. And then this one here is them getting ready to come down. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. Can you send me to his place? Yes, just be careful. It's very interesting. Can you send me to his place? Yes, just be careful.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the way they say it's very interesting. There's a pause. It's very interesting. Can you send me to his place? Yes, just be careful.
Let me play that one more time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the next one is one of Sharon's favorites, one of my favorites, because it gives a hint. And keep this, and we were talking yesterday, guys, about having some sort of a database we wish we had to put all this information in together, see if other people are getting the same kind of responses. But they're planning to travel from East Bethany, New York to Daytona, Florida. And they give a little hint of the sensation that they experience when they make this travel, whether it's through phone lines, whether it's just through the ether, who knows? But you hear, let's get moving. I feel okay. You might feel tickles.
All right, here it is.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
That one was easier to make the wording out, and I caught most of that. That was good.
Yes. Next one, very, very quickly. Who wants to go after me? Is it safe to do that? I hope we keep faithful. Again, an interesting word to use.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to go after me? Is it safe to do that? I hope we keep faithful.
Mm-hmm. Faithful was clear too.
Yeah.
Faithful was very clear.
A very unique word, a very, very specific
They used
choice
that
of
word
words.
several times during our conversations with them. They used faithful several times. Faithful.
Yeah, that's interesting and up to many interpretations, I'm sure. Yeah.
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 All right, we only got the last. I have three more. I know you said 19. I think it's 18, Tony, but we'll go through it quick because I know you guys have some questions, and Sharon definitely has to give you guys some information about the asylum because this place is unbelievable. Okay, so the next one is one of my favorites too. This is back at the asylum, and everybody else who has traveled down already, but you'll hear the lingering spirits going, what happened? It's supposed to be what happened to those girls were here. They went to see George Lopez in Florida. No joke. No joke. What happened? Those girls were here. They went to see George Lopez in Florida. Go ahead. Go ahead. Play it again.
Yeah, let me play that one again.
Wow. Definitely heard the Lopez part. Yeah, that one was clear.
Yep.
And then these last two, I believe, were both back in Florida with the with the Shack Hack. You're Up, Roy, Come Up. And I think I'm speaking prior to that. So play it one time. It's refresh my memory. Yeah, that's quick. That's just You're Up, Roy, Come Up. Go ahead.
Let me play that one more time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Almost choral, very sing-songy.
Yeah, very.
And then the final one here on the Shack Hack is yes, there is some here from Rolling Hills Asylum. Just confirming that they came down. Yes, there is some here from Rolling Hills Asylum. Go ahead.
Yep.
And one more time.
Yep.
Yeah. A male voice coming through at that point in time. Could be Gabriel, Michael, who stayed behind as the women made the brave trek all the way up to East Bethany, New York in the cold weather. So, this entire process was for us mind-blowing to know. And of course, what happened 6 months later is Ghost Adventures goes on and goes, this is the first time we've ever done from Winchester House to, it's like, shut up. No, you stole it from us. But
that was amazing. That was incredible stuff. And you know what? I know when we start, I don't know, 10, 11 years ago, whenever we got our first SB7, but I remember taking it to Cherie and saying, almost every question we asked, there's an answer here. But it was so hard to distinguish if your ear wasn't trained, if you didn't know the cadence could be completely different. And that's what got us into the whole ITC world, was because I said 99% of the questions we asked, there's an answer here. And that's what got us hooked.
But I don't know whether or not this experiment would have been as successful if we chose to do this with another location, because of several different reasons. Sharon Coyle's connection to this amazing establishment. Not only that, but Sharon, do you want to share the story about your name being part of Rolling Hills Asylum before you were?
I don't know what you're referring to.
Actually, before she does that, I'm just going to break you for just a second. KGRA at the top of the hour will move on to their next broadcast show for their schedule. But if you want to continue watching the show, because we're going to go through the rest of the clips, we're going to go through discussions and everything else, please either move over to YouTube on Entity Voices, any of Entity Voices Facebook pages, the Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence Facebook pages, to continue watching this show, because it will continue. But if you do move on to the KGRA's program, thank you for listening. We appreciate it, and have a good night. But the show will go on. So, okay, George.
I feel bad that I rushed it now. I didn't know when we had an hour or we'd go past that point in time. But
we do have the ability to extend past. We lose the national KGRA audience, but we do still keep YouTube's, Facebook's, and all of the other channels. So,
and we do have quite a few viewers that stick with us, and I want to get to those pictures.
And I have some things I'd like to share with you.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I was rushing through this, or I would have broken it up. So sorry about that, guys.
No, it's okay, because Sharon submitted quite a few other things. We've got EVPs, we've got photographs. So initially, when I saw the 18, I'm like, man, we're gonna have a hard time fitting that in. But then I thought, okay, we'll just let it run over. So not a problem, no worries.
Whip through it. Yeah. Well, what I was saying about this magical place, and Sharon about the past, and maybe she's forgotten about it. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but I was almost positive you told me that there was a prior caretaker at the Rolling Hills Asylum who also had the name Sharon Coyle. Is that right?
No, close though. It's really, excuse me. It's kind of strange. There are a couple of different things that kind of, I feel, tie me to the property. Growing up, my parents had a gun store, an antique store. Then we ended up moving to a horse farm. My dad made horse-drawn carriages, a bunch of stuff. So long story short, at one point, the property ended up being a carriage village, an antique mall, and a craft mall. ties into my mom's antique store. They had Carriage Village, where they also had, it was like a carriage museum. And again, my dad built horse-drawn carriages. And the first private owner, Cecil Speakman, his daughter's name is Sharon, born the same day I'm born. Just kind of weird. I found out all that after I bought the property. So,
wow. Interesting.
yeah, it's very strange. And then I ended up buying it the day before my birthday. So
might be the connection. Yeah, might be the connection that you had with the location.
the property is just so amazing. And I've been here 12 years. All the other owners only lasted 10 years. So I feel like I broke some curse and I finally made it past that. But the property is so amazing. The spirits are so intelligent, and the stuff that happens here, and the stuff and the information they give us and share with us and comment. And I think I said one of my favorites is recently, and I sent one, and it was the one Emma talking. Did you see that one about smoking?
Yeah, I have those to play. You want me to play that now?
Oh my God, this is one of my most favorite ones. So all I'm saying is, if you come to my property, don't do anything you don't want me to know about. If you're there with a secret lover, don't be kissing on them. Don't do anything that you're afraid that I'm going to find out, because they will tell me. You want me to set up what happened?
Let me play that clip.
Oh my God.
Hey, before you play that, I want to clear something up. Sharon, you live on property.
I live on property. I live in the old woodworking shop where they make furniture and caskets.
Wow, even more interesting.
Yeah,
wow.
I live here.
All right, here's that clip.
Nurse Alexander, is everything okay up here?
It's a little low.
Yeah, the volume levels on it's a little low, but one more time.
Nurse Alexander, is everything okay up here?
I heard smoking.
Yeah, I caught people vaping up in admin, and I was pissed off and got them out of there because there's no smoking or vaping in the building. And Andrew, who has an incredible ear for EVPs, and he's an EVP magnet. I mean, unbelievable the stuff he gets. But he went up there to see if Emma was okay. And you hear him ask, is everything okay? And she goes, they're smoking in here. She was pissed every which way from Tuesday.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
All right, you also have 3 other ones. There's one titled, Are You Guys Ready?
Yeah, that's Drew. He was opening up for a private hunt for me. I wasn't going up there. It was only him. He was doing a walkthrough before he was checking people in, make sure everything's set. All the doors are supposed to be closed, the wheelchairs were supposed to be blah, blah, blah. And he was kind of pumping up everybody in the building, all the spirits. So you'll hear what happens.
And here it is.
Test. You guys ready?
So you hear him holler, sure.
It's let me play that one more time. It's definitely there.
That wasn't somebody else in the building?
No, Drew was in the building by himself.
Shut up.
Hand to
That's
God.
amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah, let me play that again.
Test. You guys ready?
Oh,
wow.
yeah.
That had distance to the voice. And one of those things we brought up time and time again, if this guy's in an asylum by himself and somebody yells, sure, he's going to respond to it.
Yeah.
He did not.
No.
Right.
No.
I would have.
Well, meaning that if it was
I'm
some
getting out.
human,
Yeah.
he would have been like, what? But because
Who
it
the
was
hell's in here, you
EVP
know?
and
Yeah.
didn't hear it with his own ears,
No.
there was no response from him, which identifies it as, again, paranormal activity. So that was cool.
If that was an ambient voice that was a magnetic, a mechanical wave, through ambient sound, he would have heard it. It would have responded to it. Who is that? Right. Especially if he thought nobody was there. But that's got tone. You could hear it with distance to it. It sounded like a young male, I would say. That's phenomenal.
I agree. Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
That was cool.
All right. So the next one says, Emma says Roy.
So I wasn't there. It was a night it might have even been the same night. Drew was there on the private hunt, and some people had gone up to Emma's room, and they were asking her some questions. I think you'll hear the question. And so they ask, "Who's your favorite patient you took care of? Or who's the favorite person you took care of here?" And they say,
let them know who Emma was also.
Emma was one of the head nurses here.
Yeah.
And in old world, very serious. She's the one that did this. They're smoking in here because she's very proper, very serious, very stoic. She's just a really solid person, but people take her to be harsh. I relate to her a lot because I'm very direct, and people have a tendency not to take me in the right way because I'm just very direct. But I get her.
So. Understood.
Here's that clip.
Who was your favorite person here that you took care of?
Yeah.
And just told you too that these people are consistent in the building. They're consistently in there. They're consistently aware of questions. They know each other. They communicate with us about each other. It's pretty amazing.
Was it her closet that I don't want to mention the guy's name. I don't want to give him.
No, it was George's.
George's closet?
Yeah, and in the morgue in the sink.
She had Sharon had an event there.
And Steve next door to Emma's.
Right. That's right. And Sharon had some guest celebrities come in, and one of them decided.
I'll say it. I have no problem because I think he's a douche.
Okay.
He was like, hey, no, I don't care. I don't care how big that guy is, and he played whoever he played in the movies. I will take him down. He wrote a book. He urinated in my building in 3 different locations. Thought it was funny, and he set off a whole string of problems with this one entity called Steve. And it was really disrespectful and rude. I paid for his airfare, paid for his hotel. I gave him a speaker fee, and he urinates in my building. So I don't have any problem with it. He knows how I feel. So I'm a Scorpio. I'm going to tell you how it is, dude.
So was my mom. So, yeah, I know.
So it was very rude of him. It was awful. Rude is the understatement.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's with Steve. Steve completely. That's when he started to show up. He's very. He makes people sick. Anybody who's big and authoritative, he'll come after you. Not physically grabbing on you, but he will. Especially if you're a male, he'll make you feel like you're being punched in the stomach, or give you a feeling of dread and like push you out of his room. He really set up a whole tirade with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
You even called me at one point in time and said, you think you could get Amanda and we'll be on the phone and see whether or not we can clear this up. And we had something where we were getting things moving towards the atrium at the far end of the hallway, and it was feeling lighter, but it did not last. It did not last. Steve stuck around.
No, he's still here. Yeah.
So much from this place, Tony, Ron, Chris, it was the first place and the last place that I ever actually came in actual contact with a shadow crawler. And it came out of one of the rooms.
Hospital room.
It was blacker than black, and it looked almost like oil slick. And it was crawling out as if it didn't have its legs. And as it was coming out, and I was sitting in a wheelchair as a trigger object, and this must have been maybe 75 feet away from me, and I was like the guy from the movie The Thing, where you got to be effing kidding me, and I just stood up and ran at it, and it crawled itself backwards into the room.
Really?
I
Wow.
ran down the stairwell next to it to see if somebody was playing a prank. It was so.
Oh
legit.
yeah, I never saw someone take off. So I'm like, what the hell happened? Because we all could tell something was wrong. Because George just went flying. I'm like, what the hell did he hear or see? And he went flying down the stairs because he thought somebody had got in the building and had crawled out around the doorway. And then when he came up, he realized, no, it came from the door next to it, which is the hospital room. And he says to this day that his biggest regret, he looked in like the trunk and everything, so somebody was hiding in the trunk, that not looking up at the ceiling because he figured they scurried up on the ceiling.
Wow.
Yeah.
We need to go to Rolling Hills.
That whole hallway is incredible. That whole area. Can I tell you guys a story? It might take like 2 minutes. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. It ties into like a 7-year period, which is phenomenal. So I go into the building all the time and I'll talk to the spirits and blah, 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 and thank them for a good year, whatever. So it was about 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago now, right before Christmas. I went upstairs, sat in the first floor east wing on these chairs that are right there always right when you first come up. And I had a recorder going on my phone. I'm like, thank you for a good year. I hope we have a good winter and not too, snowy and blah, 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 blah. As I'm sitting there, I'm the only one in the building. It's 4:30 in the afternoon, December, whatever it was. I'm hearing from the second floor above me, from the solarium, I'm hearing on the ceiling, bam, bam. And it sounded like a guy with a sledgehammer. And I'm thinking, oh my God, somebody broke in here. Nobody knows I'm in the building. I watch a lot of 2020. I'm thinking, how the hell am I going to get out of here without the killer knowing that I know that he's here, right? So I'm talking. I'm like, all right, I got to make my way downstairs, but I want to be cool about it. And I'm hearing the sledgehammer hit the floor and coming down the hallway above me. So I'm like, all right, I guess I need to go make the cookies, wrap the presents, some stupid thing. I walk down the stairs. It's right above me in the stairwell. And so I go outside. I lock the door. I'm like, oh my God, tell you the truth, Sharon's a little flipped out. So I called a friend of mine who was a federal marshal who was a volunteer and a friend of mine. I said, Jason, oh my God, I think someone broke in. Will you come on out? He goes, okay, we'll call Julie, which was another volunteer who he was seeing and one of my really good friends. He goes, have her meet me and we'll go in the building together, the three of us. So they show up. I play the recording for them, and Julie goes, oh my God, and she's a nurse. She goes, it sounds like a guy with a peg leg. I'm going, oh no, it was so heavy. It sounded like a sledgehammer. So we go in the building, not a window's broken, not a door's broken into, nothing's out of place. We go into the hospital room. Jason walks in ahead of me, the one that we just talked about with George. And when you walk in, to this day, when you walk in on the right, there's a pair of crutches leaning against the wall. And he walks in, there's one crutch against the wall, and the other crutch is laying on the floor in front of the wheelchair, and it has a rubber stopper on it. He picks it up, and he goes, bam, to the floor. And that was a sound. It sounded like the guy running down the hallway with one crutch, a peg leg. Cut to till this past summer. Finally, I get Spectrum. They run cable out here. I've got high-speed internet. I go out to talk to the guys about the internet. The foreman's out there. He's standing on Raymond Road looking up to the long east wing. He goes, oh my God, my uncle used to be here in the nursing home. His name was Buster, and he had a peg leg. So cut to 3 weeks after that, I'm in the first floor east wing, the last room on the right. I dress like a men's hospital room. And we're in there with Brett McGinnis from GhostNet Paranormal, and he was on Ghost Hunters Academy. He's in there. We're doing a round robin EVP session with some guests. I have a turn to ask a question. I said, what could you tell me about Buster? What was different about Buster? Play it back, peg leg. Wow. That's almost 7 years. 7 years.
Wow.
I mean, I can't make that up. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I mean, I don't know if you think it's so great as I do, but I mean, I was blown away.
Yeah, that's beyond coincidental, I think. That's too many pieces that line up. That's like if you drop the puzzle box and like a whole side of the puzzle just formed as it hit the floor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's not going to line up that way.
It's a great analogy.
It's amazing. Yeah, and I failed to mention that the guy said his uncle's name was Buster. And he had a peg leg. So that's why I said what was different about Buster. I mean, and then I have a photo. I should have sent you that damn photo. I'll have to send it to you. Then my friend, Yvette, took a selfie last October in that same hallway by the chairs with the solarium behind her where Buster supposedly hangs out. And there's a guy walking down the hallway with a peg leg.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's the whole place is insane. I love the spirits are amazing. There's something that's been happening upstairs in Shadow Hallway. We have a room called the Vortex Room. There's a portal in it. You walk in there, you can feel like vertigo, off kilter, nauseous, all kinds of stuff. We track the energy going when you walk in the room to the left. There's a section of wall goes left, straight down, in through the barbershop, through the chapel, and out. Well, people have been going in there, and sounds crazy. People have been going in there and able to communicate with loved ones in their own lives that pass away. They'll go in there through Spirit Box and EVP, go in there and ask questions, and it'll be questions that only they would know with the person that passed away. Like, I don't know, Jamie kissed a little boy behind the barn when she was wearing her diaper when she was 4 years old. Like, really specific only to these two people. And it's been amazing. I don't know what is going on there, but the stuff that's been happening in that one area, time and time again, people will go in there. I had this one man in October. His mother died like 3 weeks before. He went in there, got an EVP saying, I can't remember his name. I'm so bad at names. Tony, I miss you. I love you. And it was his mother's voice. One man stopped me on the way out the door. He was in his 60s. He said, I went in that room. I talked to my mom and my dad, and they both died 25 years ago. I haven't heard their voice in 25 years. The stuff that's happening in that building is phenomenal. The only thing I can relate to that particular room, it's parallel to the power station that's on the road, and I think it's a direct feed line for energy.
So it creates a doorway possibly?
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. People have been seeing so many full body apparitions, like human, that they want to talk to. One of my people, Bridget, she might even be in one of the chats. She was walking from coming up the basement, and there's this ramp that goes in and out where the main entrance, and you go up the ramp and you go left into the cafe or right into the gift shop. So she was coming up and she saw this woman in white with long hair over her face, and she thought she was looking for a way out. So she comes up behind her and she went to say, like, can I help you? The woman walked past the ramp to go into the cafe. The cafe door is locked. There's 3 doors there. They're all locked with deadbolts. Can't get in unless we open them up. She rounded the corner, like literally in a second, and the woman had disappeared. People have been coming downstairs from the hospital ward and seeing people behind them waiting on the next level to talk to them, and they don't make it down the floor.
Tony, you got a couple of pictures for some good examples like that.
Oh, it's incredible stuff. That was over on the ramp, yeah.
Yeah, let's take a look at those because our time is progressing here. I'm going to show, I think, 3 or 4. The first one I'm going to show appears to be a very distinct shadow figure. So let me pull that photo up, and Sharon, you can tell us what we're looking at.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that's incredible. Somebody took that one night in October. They're coming from the hospital ward, headed down towards Shadow Hallway. That on the left is a connector floor. I call it a connector floor that connects the old West Wing to the new East Wing. The West Wing is 1938. The East Wing is 1958. And they caught this person right there. And there's all these other people that are in the foreground in the shadows.
So I want to bring that picture back up for a second, Tony, would you?
That's
I want to point out something. So you guys hear me do this on a lot of our shows where I love the pictures because they can be analyzed and torn apart. And I don't mean torn apart by debunked. I mean torn apart to point more towards the paranormal than anything. So you see the exit sign light at the top of the doorway behind this shadow figure. If you look at the floor, you can see the reflection of the light on the floor. Mm-hmm. Okay. So anybody standing in front of that light is going to cast a direct shadow in the same direction of that reflection. Now look on the floor in front of that shadow figure. Do you see a 7-foot tall freaking shadow in front of that form standing there?
No.
That light is directly behind that form standing there at the top of that ramp. There should be a 7-foot shadow. You shouldn't be able to see the light reflecting on that ramp. It should be covered with a shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah, spot on. Not to mention the fact that there is no red hint or haze at all on the back. If that was a person wearing black clothing, it would be red highlighted on the back of it from being backlit from that same sign.
Oh, even what appears to be a shoulder and an arm there should have a red tint to it from that light.
Nothing.
Right, and it doesn't. No, not at all. And the other thing is that is the typical darkness of dark of shadow figures, because that's, I mean, I don't know how many times Chris and I in the old Phelps Dodge, you know, it's pitch black in there, and we're like, oh my God, shadow figure. And I remember Cherie, before she ever saw one, is like, how are you seeing a shadow in the dark? Well, because they are darker than dark. And
they're darker than dark. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and you can do a comparison. If you look at the shadow above the light on the ceiling, it's not as dark as the figure itself.
Right.
Or the
it's
shadow
very
on the wall.
fuzzy around the edges. The
Right.
Whatever the entity itself is fuzzy on the edges. There's no crispness, nothing.
That's
Wow.
true. That's true.
Awesome.
I got one shadow figure picture that's comparable in the blackness like that from the Queen Mary, and that's the first thing I thought of was that there's no way that's a human being.
I miss the Queen Mary. I hope to God they can save her.
Me too. I spent a lot of hours there when I started out. I used to
I
go
just
there
dreamt about it last night.
every month. I used to go there.
Yeah, me too. We should talk sometime.
Yeah, we should. And I definitely want to come up the rolling hills now. I have been sold. I am sold. Yeah, I can't wait to come up.
Tony, I just sent you that peg leg picture in case you're interested. But anyways, I don't know what I think there's a couple others you get. The one on Roy.
Okay, I don't think I can hold on. I don't think I can pull
the
it. The
one with Roy I sent you on the ramp. I just took.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna go through what we have loaded already because it would take me. I got to go pull it.
Well, I just want to send it to you so you can have it.
All right, so I'm gonna pull up the next photo, and Sharon, tell us what we're looking at here. So here's the photo.
So I had stopped. I was in the building with a friend of mine, and we were just doing a walkthrough. We're only two people. We weren't open for business or anything. Again, up in the hospital ward, I stopped, kind of scrouched down in the doorway, took 3 photos, and kept on walking. Didn't even look at them because we were just doing a quick walkthrough, making sure there was no windows broken in, just doing a general safety check. And when I got back down the house, I'm like, God. Sorry, won't say it. God darn it. I wish I would have looked at it because I could have talked to Roy. Standing on the ramp is 7.5-foot shadow man, our Roy. And I sent you another photo that shows him when I took a photo of him in 2008 and a real life photograph of him, and he's wearing the same jacket. And if you look on the right side, I know, same jacket. And when you look on the right side, on that ramp, and you zoom in, there's actually people on the floor, children or whatever, playing. And I sent you another photo of, I put a girl standing in the same spot. She's 5'4". She doesn't come anywhere near that window with her head.
Right.
Is there any correlation to the fact that the name Roy was written on there? Because it did not come up in one of the audio things before?
It did.
Yeah, that's my 7.5-foot shadow man. I feel like he's my protector and my guardian in that place. He's very well known in the building. You go into his room and he'll wish you happy birthday or happy anniversary if it's your birthday or anniversary. He's very engaging. He came to live here when he was 12 years old. His father was embarrassed by him. He had gigantism, so his facial features and everything were oversized. He became very super large, and they dropped him off at the poorhouse when he was only 12 years old in the early 1900s.
What's interesting is the comparison on those 2 photos. If you look at the one that looks like an apparition or a mist,
right, that was the first.
You look at the picture of Roy.
Yep.
The arms are shaped the same, just on opposite sides.
Yep. Is that amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
He's in there so much. He'll come into our gift shop when we're all in there just talking, and we'll hear him come in. We won't hear the door open, and then all of a sudden he'll say my name really, really loud, and he's got this hugely deep voice, and we'll just spin around like, oh my God, he's here, you know? He's just, it's
that's a very interesting fact too, where you say hugely deep voice, because people over history that have had the affliction of that affliction of the I can't say it. Yes. It also affects their vocal cords and their voice because of the stretch in their neck. And so they have that really deep bass voice. So for you to hear that is a direct connection to somebody with that affliction. That's actually pretty neat.
Yeah. A bit of irony, by the way, that the shortest guy here could say gigantism.
Yeah.
I'm only 5'2". I'm right with him. So yeah, he's pretty amazing. He let me know the first couple of days I was on the property that he was going to watch out for me. Weird story. I was in there with a handyman. Second day I was in the building. Handyman goes to leave. I walk around the corner to go into the gift shop, and I stop, and I'm like, oh, what is that? Is that a kitten on the floor? Oh, my God, it's a kitten. No, it's a rat. So I'm freaking out. Rat. Guy comes in, the maintenance guy said, you have to go on rat abatement tomorrow. So the next day he comes in, goes down the stairs towards the morgue to put rat traps in the basement. He calls me. He goes, Sharon, come down here. I'm like, what? So I go down. He goes, oh, my God, look. And there was a rat, dead rat, perfectly laying on the step. It hanging out of his mouth, his little tail hanging over the edge. This guy's trying to tell me the rat was climbing up the wall and he had a little mini rat heart attack or something foul and died. I'm like, that does not happen. They climb straight up Bruce. So a couple of days later, people were doing a tour for me and they called me. They go, Sharon, you got to go up to the hospital ward, the infirmary. There's blood on the floor and it's wet. I went up there, sure as hell. There's this blood splotch in the shape of a rat. It's wet, and these huge footprints in blood, and there's kick marks on the wall, and a handprint on the wall with blood on it. So I call the police. Police come out, sequester everyone. They realize it's wet. It is blood. They called forensics out. They had to take blood samples. I'm waiting a week, 2 weeks, a month and a half, 2 months. I finally called them. I said, did you find out what happened? What is it? What is this, blood? Yeah, it's blood. We don't know if it's human or it's animal. But it was huge footprints, huge handprint. Roy killed the rat for me. That's why I'll go to my grave believing that. I've never had a rat in the building since.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. I know it's stupid, but I'll go to my grave saying that he watches over me in that place.
Well, they do that. We've experienced that ourselves, and we know that can happen. But I am running, I'm afraid, out of time, but we've got through all the evidence. We got through all the pictures. I want to say thank you to both George and Sharon for taking the time to supply all this great stuff to inform us and the entire audience of what occurs at Rolling Hills. Thank you so much for doing that.
Definitely
it was a pleasure. Yes. And for anybody who's looking for another place to investigate, if you have not been there, I know the entire EVPE team is thinking the exact same thing. Rolling Hills, we got to get there.
It's amazing. I'm not just saying that because I own the property. Honestly, I've been all over the country. I've never been a place that is so consistently active, consistent with EVPs, spirit box activity, shadows. You saw the photos. I'm very blessed, and I don't even know what to say about it. Honestly, I'm grateful that they allowed me to stay here and watch over them.
It sounds like they are also.
Yeah.
Where can people go to book a investigation, Sharon?
RollingHillsAsylum.com. I only have January's up. I'm working and the rest of the year's up. I've been sick. Like I said, I was planning to get out for January 1st, but I'm a little behind. So give me a week or two and I should have the rest of the year up. We have a lot of stuff happening. Ghost Hunts USA are coming. Ghost Net Paranormal, the Tennessee Wraith Chasers. I have some other special fun things I'm planning. We do horror movie nights, projected of a casket, a bunch of other fun stuff too. Besides Ghost Hunts. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That is fantastic.
All right, Chris, do you want to give our closing line?
If you want to visit a location where you have a gentle giant that you can capture that kills rats to make sure the building stays clear, you have to go to Rolling Hills Asylum and you have to stay haunted. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.